Was there a moment in practice or like camp where you looked at Jaxson Dart and you were like, yep, that's why they drafted him? This is the Inside Rip, where every card tells a story and so do the people behind them. I'm Serena Morales, and each week we sit down with the voices shaping sports and the hobby from the inside out. Today's guest is someone who knows the New York Giants better than most and also knows how to survive the emotional roller coaster that is covering New York football. You can catch her anywhere the Giants are, as well as MSG Network and CBS Sports HQ. My girl, Madelyn Burke. Let's start with big picture, Mads. The G-Men, they're out of this year's playoffs. The team still somehow made a game against the Lions fun, much thanks to Jameus Winston. Whether he's outside or inside.
We outside, but we inside.
Or whether he's doing the Heisman in the end zone. Jameis has had every version of an NFL career. He's that franchise guy. He's a turnover machine. He is a comeback story. Which version do you think the Giants believe they're getting, Mads?
Jameis is a ray of sunshine in this locker room. I mean, you hear players talk about how he calls a play in the huddle like he's telling you a secret. You guys, okay, this is what we get to do now. He loves the game of football. He plays with such joy and the inspiration of a Southern pastor, and the way that you hear him give those pregame speeches and those hype speeches. Even when he was QB3, the emergency quarterback, he was out there motivating and high-fiving his teammates. You saw on Sunday against the Lions, he and Jaxson Dart have like a little coordinated, choreographed handshake going on. It's adorable. Plus, Serena, let me just tell you, there are just two players in NFL history with 300 or more passing yards and 25 receiving yards or more in a single game. The first is Tom Brady. We all know how great he is. The second, Sunday, Jameis Winston. All right, that's some pretty elite company right there. Two players who have ever done it. This man pulls a Heisman 33-yard receiving touchdown on the trick play. That's his first ever career reception in the National Football League. And, you know, there's some highs and lows with the way that Jameis plays. But one thing's for sure, he is decisive, he is joyful, and he provides a spark to an offense that, you know, has been clicking. The defensive side of the ball, maybe not as much for these Giants, as we've seen 5 times this year now, a double-digit lead turn into a loss. So I think, you know, when people talk about, yes, they're a 2-10 team at the time that we're recording this, but they're a very exciting 2-10 team. Like, they're the best of the bad teams. And so I think at least they're exciting to watch week in and week out. And even if they lose a game, you're still invested. The Lions didn't have a lead until overtime. So the Giants are doing something right. They just gotta extend that to the full length of the game to finish it out.
That's right. I mean, look, I saw a post from someone who wrote, Jameis Winston played the perfect Jameis game today, referring to the Lions game on Sunday. Through touchdowns, caught touchdowns, dropped dimes, through absolute disasters, dancing, smiling, commanding an exciting loss for a team already doomed, fans entertained, draft picks secured. How valuable is Jameis Winston to the Giants?
He's extremely valuable because, you know, I think the way, you know, we look at him as almost a caricature sometimes with some of the things that he does and says on the football field, but he is, again, he's a very smart, cerebral quarterback who is decisive. And that's one of the things that when you look at some of these quarterbacks who come into the league, early round draft picks, a lot of high expectations for some of these guys coming out of college into the league. Yeah. The biggest thing that holds a lot of these talented players back is their minds, right? You have the physical ability, you have the skill set. Can you see, assess a situation, make a decision, and stick with it? And even if it's not the right decision, even if it's a decision that ends up in an interception, if you do it with confidence and you move forward, and that's what Jameis brings, and that's an influence that he has on Jaxson Dart too, and Jameis is signed through next year as well as the backup for Jaxson Dart as he continues to evolve. And just, you know, reminding people that, you know, through the highs and lows of a season, with a long season, the Giants don't have a bye week until week 14. It's a slog fest. And so having somebody who's bringing joy is a benefit, because at the end of the day, you want to enjoy your job and you want to enjoy the thing that you're spending so much time, energy, and focus on.
How has that locker room responded to both Jameis and Russ so far? I mean, it seems like they're going to hold on to Jameis because Dart has seemed to like vibe with him more? Like what really is it?
Well, I think that decision was already made before they ever even met, right? They signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal.
Good bet.
Thinking like this is a guy that's a good backup. I mean, he's really good at being a backup quarterback too. He knows that he can show up and play if asked to. If he needs to be a starter, he's ready. And, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. But he also fully embraces that role of the backup, where, as I think a lot of veteran quarterbacks, on the tail end of their career, they'll do the backup quarterback role, but always thinking, I should be starting. Jameis is kind of good. He's happy to be there. He is thrilled to be a part of it. Whatever you need. You want me to get some talent? He is genuinely enthusiastic about everything that he does with this game. And so I think curating that quarterback room, and then the opportunity to have a veteran like Russell Wilson in the building for a year, which they signed him to a 1-year deal, was a great one at the start of the season. And then, you get a couple games in and you realize, all right, Jaxson is ready. Let's just give him the keys. And there you go.
Oh, I love that. Let's talk about Jaxson Dart. If collectors are looking for this could age well storyline with Dart, whatever that looks like what should they be watching for early in his career? He gets back on the field, perhaps. Like, what should people look for? And I'm going to hold on to his card. This is going to be valuable long term.
He's had some pretty big plays and some big runs early on in his career. But I think the bromance that he and Cam Scataboo have is adorable. And it kind of, I'm not going to compare it, but the first one that comes to mind is like Dak and Ezekiel Elliott in that heyday, right? When the two of them were just Tweedledee and Tweedledum right there. Jaxson Dart and Cam Scataboo have their own version of this kind of coming in together as rookies, as two pivotal parts of an offense. And the fact that they're going to be kind of growing together in their careers, it's going to be cool to watch.
That is cute. Was there a moment in practice or camp where you looked at Jaxson Dart and you were like, yep, that's why they drafted him?
His very first practice was open to the public in training camp. And one of his first plays, he throws an interception. And the media and fans and attendance are like, this is why we shouldn't have drafted him. Da, 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 da. What a mistake. Because, of course, every play in training camp is defining of your career. But what I saw from Jaxson Dart is the way that he read that play and that coverage. And then the next time he saw it, he adjusted and made the correct play. And that's something that you see from him consistently, right? He does make mistakes, as we all do in life, as everyone does, especially as a rookie in the National Football League. But you don't see him repeating mistakes. And that is something that I noticed as watching him evolve early on in training camp. I'm like, oh, wow. He picked up on that this time. He saw that. He noticed the robber coming down. He saw the shift in coverage there. And being able to register that in real time and say, okay, this is the mistake I made last time. Now I'm going to do it this way, as opposed to just consistently making, oops, I did it again. Okay, Brittany, we're not doing that,
Well, let's talk about his buddy, Cam Scataboo. I feel like every parent in New York City that's giving birth to a child, somehow their name is going to be Skattebo, right? He is the most popular guy on the team, even though he's not suiting up. He is a rookie that plays with urgency. What have you heard from the Giants? Because right now he is on the sidelines, resting an injury. What are you hearing from the Giants on how they're going to balance unleashing this man while also keeping him healthy over a full season?
Yeah. Well, and again, it was such a fluke injury, right? A season-ending injury, which thank goodness the broadcast didn't replay, because his foot, which is supposed to be this way, bent that way. Ugh. But you hear, because it was a clean break and all that, it was the best case scenario. So he had surgery, a season-ending injury. There's optimism he'll be ready to go at the beginning of next year, but they're going to be careful that, not bubble wrapping the kid, because this is a guy who at age 6 would put on his brother's football pads and run into a telephone pole for fun. So you don't need to kind of put him on ice a little bit, but yes, he does need to heal that injury. And when he does, and when he's ready to get back out there, I'd imagine it'll take time to get some of that explosiveness back because of just the nature of the injury. But the mentality, the physicality, and the fearlessness with which he plays, that is going to be something you can't replicate. That's something that it's a mindset, and I think you see people on TikTok making, memes. It's like, all right, you got a wide open lane, a defender over here. And Cam's like, let me run through that defender before. He just embraces and enjoys contact and takes pride in it. And, I think back to that Saints game where he threw a ridiculous block on an edge defender that looked like nearly twice his size and just pancaked the guy. The fact that he not only can run the rock in that way, but also takes such pride at being like, oh, it's my turn to block so my teammate can get a lane. Let's go. Yeah. That's just something that has ingratiated himself, not just with Giants fans in this team and this organization, but also with the league. I mean, you notice with the way that when he did get hurt, you felt that, not just as a Giants fan, but as a football fan, you felt like, wow, that's a big loss, not just for this team, but for this game, because he's so much fun to watch, and he's going to have a really special career.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, he's still in the spotlight. He's now streaming on Twitch, and he has 120,000 followers after streaming just 3 times.
Yeah, well, and I had a conversation with him because he was on the sideline the other day, and I was like, listen, Cam, I never in my life have thought about the fact that tacos dominate me, but they do.
Do you turn your head to eat a taco, or do you turn the taco for you? Are you dominant to the taco, or does the taco, do you turn your head for the taco? If you're turning the taco, you're dominating the taco.
As he said, he goes, do you turn your head to eat a taco, or do you turn the taco to eat like this? He's like, are you dominant to the taco? And I was like, I turn my head because I don't want to spill the taco. I was like, if anything, it's a slight tilt both ways, but I probably tilt more. He goes, listen, you're a girl. You can get away with that. But me, I got to dominate the taco. And I did ask him, I said, well, I think the most dominant move would be to keep the taco upright and just come at it like this. To which he and Jaxson both laughed and said, well, that would be messy, but I'm down. Let me challenge accepted.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that while he's recovering, he is still inspiring things that make you go, right?
Is there a guy on the roster that you don't want to sleep on him, that collectors can just keep to the side, stash quietly before next season?
I mean, Brian Burns is having a season, right? We talk about how much this Giants defense have struggled to the point where the defensive coordinator lost his job. Burns still has a career high 13 sacks on the year, and that's through 11 games, right? That man is getting there and closing and finishing. And so he's having defensive player of the year caliber numbers. If not for what Myles Garrett is doing right now, he would be strongly in consideration. And if the Giants perhaps had a little bit more success on the field, that might make a little bit more of a difference too. But Brian Burns is a player. Plus, his celebration, the Spider-Man, come on, not just this, but the way he gets down and the lunge. I mean, that celly alone, that card would be chef's kiss. That or this, if you had a sexy Dexy card too, that's a...
I mean,
this is...
You must be having the best time on the sideline.
Dex is also, Dex is in his 7th NFL season. And I remember his rookie year when he brought in the sexy Dexy dance. I was like, all right, teach it to me. We did it in the studio. I was like, this is great. This is so good. It took this long for TikTok to get on board, and now finally you see people doing it. Now finally it's a trend. I'm like, it's about time. You got other players from college doing the sexy Dexy. It is such a good celebration, and especially one coming from a 300+ pound man who calls himself sexy Dexy. That I think that's underrated.
What does the next head coach then need to be? Not just for the NFL, right? This is specifically to a headbutting Giants that's cerebral, that is smart, but dependable. What is that next head coach and the traits that is needed? Maybe you don't have names yet, but how would you describe that person?
The game has evolved so much, and the position of head coach has evolved so much over the years, right? There, it used to be you needed a tough Bill Belichick-like drill sergeant with no BS and this and that. I think gone are the days of a team that needs, a drill sergeant-like head coach, like a Bill Belichick with just, here's the line, here's the accountability. the nuances of these younger players coming into the game with, coming out of college where they made millions through NIL and endorsements, and it's not just now suddenly, for the first time I'm getting paid to play this game. These guys are coming in savvy businessmen and understanding that, but also coming in with a duality of interests, right? We talk about Scat and his streaming. We talk about all this kind of other stuff. So I think it needs to be a coach, number one, with head coach experience, who understands that the amount of things that go into that role, not just play calling, but also logistics and scheduling and practices and all that kind of stuff. Right. And also somebody who understands the modern NFL player, which is a player who my light keeps going out now, which is a player who loves the game, but also, maybe has other ventures and other side quests that they're going on, and can support and nurture that.
Why do you think Daniel Jones is succeeding in Indy?
Daniel Jones is having success in Indianapolis, and I think a lot of it came from his brief stint in Minnesota. While he was in Minnesota, as on the practice squad working with Kevin O'Connell, he picked up some study habits and some habits that he didn't quite know yet. And, you come into this league, you don't know what you don't know with any job, right? If you're doing play-by-play for a game for the very first time, nobody teaches you how to build your chart. How you learn and how you retain information is something you got to learn about yourself. And I think that's something that Daniel really learned in his time from with Minnesota, and also gained a little bit of confidence of, okay, that confidence comes from being fully prepared. And now going into Indianapolis, a situation where he's like, all right, here's a reset. Here's an opportunity for me to let's try this again, knowing now what I wish I knew then, and being able to come in and prepare in a different way has really helped him. And plus, it doesn't hurt that you've got, a ridiculously talented running back in Jonathan Taylor having MVP caliber numbers. I mean, listen, any offense is working when you got the run game going.
I like that. Appreciate that. Yeah. All right, let's get to rapid fire. If Giants were a New York City neighborhood, which one would they be?
They are the New York Giants, but they are based in New Jersey. And I think because of that fact, I'm giving them Hoboken, which is not New York, but it's New Jersey, but it's like right across the river. And especially with this iteration of the Giants, let's get a little Texas, Arizona going on. It's a bar right by the PATH train, So I would give them Hoboken right now.
I dig that. Which player would survive the subway during rush hour, and who would absolutely not survive?
Well, I can tell you who would not survive. Tyler Nubin and Jalen Hyatt both have practically sat me down and told me, I need you to stop taking the train. How do you take the train every day? I was like, that's what I do. I live in the city. And they're like, that's not safe. So I think those two, but they also watch too many murder mystery shows. So that probably plays into it. But I think most of these guys would probably thrive on the subway. Jaxson Dart, Cam Scataboo, I could see all of them. Yeah. Wan'Dale Robinson is like, don't mind if I do.
Yeah. Just take up space, move in, go with the flow. If the Giants season had to be summed up in one New York subway announcement, what would it sound like?
I think it would be when you get on the subway and you expect it to be a local train, and then suddenly it's going express, and you're like, the next stop will be 125th Street, and you're like, wait a minute, I was trying to go to 44. So I think you get on the train and you had an expectation of where you were going based on what it looked like at the beginning of the season, and then it took you a little bit off to a distant place that you didn't really think you were going to go. But it's okay, because once you get there, you get off, you go back, and you figure it out. And it's a little bit of a different journey, a little bit of an inconvenient journey. But eventually they'll correct course.
That's the best answer you ever could have given. If Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson walked into a New York bodega, what would each of them order?
I think Russ would go classic bacon, egg, and cheese because, he's very aware of this is the vibe. This is what we do. Salt, pepper, ketchup, put it on a roll. This is how we live. And Russ is never afraid to be like, all right, I'm 10 toes down where I am. I think Jameis would probably ask several questions about the pictures on the menu. Might go with the smoothie, honestly, because it's, it's bright, colorful, joyful. It's like, oh, that looks nice, and da-da-da, it's got a fun name. So that's how I imagine it going. I think he'd be like, oh, what's this? What's good here? Jameis is going to be that guy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Wow. Okay. Finally, I want to emphasize the we in We the Hobby. Have you ever collected cards, Madeline? I didn't even ask you this.
Never collected. I once was gifted a couple Pokemon cards in like middle school when that was first becoming a thing. But just because I was like, oh, these are cute. And a friend of mine was like, here, you can have them. But I've never been a real collector.
Wow.
I feel like though, I mean, now being on this journey with you and seeing you thrive in the We the Hobby world and being a part of a couple streams, I'm like, is it time? Is it time I start my collection?
It's time. Open that box. This is your start of your collection.
First of all, for people at home, I just need them to see. I got this lovely gift in the mail. Do not open. And look at the willpower, Serena. I just need you to see the willpower.
Yay, she didn't open it at all.
But anyways, I'm very excited.
Okay, great.
Ta-da. Oh my gosh, and it's got my name on it. There's my name on it?
Sure
Wait,
does.
what am I looking at here? I don't know. Can I unplastic wrap this? Am I ruining it?
Yep, unplastic it. Yep, nope, that's it. You got it.
Listen, I'm new to this world. You're like, this is baptism
I'm excited.
by gift. Oh my gosh. Yo!
Okay, yes. That is a 2004 Topps Eli Manning rookie. It's a mint 9 grade, so it's pretty good. I know that you have covered him. You've covered the Giants for 10 years. I love your face right now. You're like a kid in a candy store.
First of all, as somebody
is
somebody who is new to this world and knows very little about, I know that this is a big deal. This has been sitting on my counter. This has been sitting on my counter. This.
Yes.
Also,
Eli has been sitting on your counter.
This is my 10th season covering the Giants, which is exciting. When I started, Eli was still playing, and now he has become a friend and colleague who I've done several other media engagements with. I've done panels with him. The audacity of me to start my trading card collection at the top. Like,
yes, there you go.
Like, this isn't like, let me start in the mailroom and work my way up. This is like, straight to CEO,
no base
right
cards.
Here. Straight to the top.
That's for you, Mads. That's for you, girl. Welcome to the hobby. The hobby is for everyone, and we are so glad that you are now a part of it.
This is going to be my new LinkedIn photo right here.